first thing women notice? Your face. That's why you got to take care of it. Simple things like getting a haircut, grooming your face, and brushing your teeth is important. But there's one thing guys miss and that women always notice. It's when a guy isn't taking care of his skin. That's why I'm so excited to have T. Shanley as a sponsor of today's video. T. Shanley simplifies the process of taking care of your skin. They provide you with all the products you need and nothing you don't. Seriously, I don't think some of you believe me when I tell you how much implementing a quality skincare routine will improve your confidence in all aspects of your life. I recommend you start with the level 1 system, which comes with all the basics: daily face wash, exfoliating scrub, an AM moisturizer with a SPF 20 and a PM moisturizer. But and to make it dead simple for you guys, they provide an instruction card in every box that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. But because T just sponsoring this video, they're offering you an amazing deal. Just click the first link in the description and get 40% off your first skincare system and free gift. Plus, as a member, you'll get 20% off for life. By the way, one of their new gift options is a silicone body scrubber, which is a $20 value and a complete game changer. Once you use this, you'll never go back to a regular loofah ever again. So don't wait any longer. Click the first link in the description to start your skincare journey today.
Maintaining your beard isn't just style, it's self-respect. A well-groomed beard boosts confidence and leaves a lasting impression. Elevate your look. Embrace the importance of beard care today. It's go time. What's going on, family? How y'all doing? How you doing? Welcome. Let me go ahead and introduce the crew. We got Miss Kelly J, C Soulfully, there's the poet Luis, Chanel, Coco, Higley, myself, and Lapeef J. What's going on, family? What's going on? How y'all doing?
What's happening? What's good?
How we doing this evening?
Wonderful, man. Wonderful. You know, we got to be phony, act like we ain't just got through talking, but you know, lights, camera,
We just got on the phone.
lights, camera, action. All right, it's good to see you guys, man. Welcome again. Let me go ahead and get the housekeeping out the way. I'm glad you guys are doing amazing. That is fantastic. So let me go ahead and get this out the way. Shout out to the sponsor, T. Shanley, Uncomplicated Skincare for Men. You get 40% off along with a free gift. That link is in the description. Make sure you go ahead and click it. This is for men's skincare. We also have Assure Man King on top. This is a Lapeef and Sugar Curls collab. This is for your beard. Smells good and it does wonders. Click that link that's pinned to the top of the chat. And this is for your hair, beard in particular. Skin friendly. So feel free to go ahead and moisturize your entire body. Okay. Shout out to y'all. We don't know what's going on over there, but let's make sure we meet up in between, y'all. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Excellent show ahead for you guys. Main topic is every woman's purpose is in marriage. We're going to get to that more so on the back end. We do have a couple icebreakers just to kind of walk us through, but I think it's a good topic, especially in the space, because women are often measured by if they married or not. But I was told from a little birdie and some of the research that I've been doing that it's not every woman's purpose to be married. That's their personal opinion. But it also states it in the Bible as well that everybody isn't meant for marriage. So we're going to go ahead and break that down momentarily. But before we do, let's get to this icebreaker. Y'all ready? Yeah? You good, Hank?
Yes, sir. I'm here, big brother. I'm finishing up this good old peanut butter and jelly. It's something about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I don't think I had one of those in a very long time. But shout out to
Is
them.
it the Uncrustables?
No, I don't do that fake stuff, Chanel.
They're real. It just doesn't have the edges on the bread. That's all. But it's real
Now
peanut butter and jelly.
I'm old fashioned, so yeah, it's got the crust and everything, and I'm dealing with it. Matter of fact, I even got a heel on one of mine. So
Oh, okay. Oh, Nika, is that how you say it?
Anika.
Anika. Welcome to the show, Anika.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So the crowd loves you there. I'm giving you a round of applause. You gotta take your bow now. Okay. Well, I wouldn't. You didn't really have to, but I didn't
I
know.
did.
I didn't know if it's safe or not. All right. Well, you're just in time. We got to go into this icebreaker, and then we're gonna go ahead and react to it. So here we go.
Point in my life, it's convenient for me to date a married man. Very convenient. I don't think I'm destroying anybody's home because their husband is my supposed boyfriend. That's not my business. You meet married men that 6 months, 3 months, they don't have at home, but they want to every day. They come to their girlfriend's house. They want, as they enter, they want just they do. But at home, there is nothing. So how you go? So that's my fault that you're not having fun at home, and that you can have that fun with me a million times in a day if you so wish. You will always come to me.
Once the man is married,
Yes.
he should be out of bounds.
For who?
How is it your
Life
fault?
is preference, right? I like to date married men. You cannot date married men. Let me do what works for me. Primary thing that keeps that man coming back is not anything else.
All right. Let's go ahead and let me check this out. Let's go ahead and get into it, man. So we have a young lady right here. She's interested in dating married men. So a woman states her preference for relationships is with married men. Says it's convenient for me to date a married man. I don't think I'm destroying anybody's home because your husband is supposed to be my boyfriend. Let's go ahead and react to it. What'd you say? What'd you say? Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I didn't know if you was trying to slow you do that.
I think I was telling Anika to unmute
Oh.
her mic.
I'll mute your mic. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm gonna go ahead and start with let's see. Let's start with Viz first, man. Let's get your expertise, man. This is Viz the poet, aka Dr. Love, man. You know, he used to be on the party line. He used to call himself the poet. Yo, you're a match with. Go ahead, Viz.
Man, I think I said this last week, but even though
mic connected, so just so you know.
Say it again.
That sound like your mic connected, not like the computer.
How about now?
Nah, it sounds kind of like you're talking from your computer. You got a mic there?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay, while he's fixing that, if you can correct
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk now.
Yo, can you hear me now?
I can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, man. It's a little loud, but this time. Hearing a lot of feedback. Y'all hearing that? Yeah. Okay.
I know what Viz
What
said
about now?
before.
What'd you
You
say?
said you what?
I know what Viz said before.
Okay. I can hear you good now.
Yeah. I mean, I would of course say morally, that's something that married men should not indulge in. But at the same time, just how the topic is, some women they're just here for that, and if that's what they're into and that's what makes them happy and they find somebody, a married man, to do it, then I mean, I kind of can't knock it. I get it. And again, it's morally incorrect, but there will always be married men that cheat on their wife, especially coming from a African culture. Just from what I'm aware of on the surface level, is that they're used to having multiple women. So if it works for them, then it works for them. I think that is morally incorrect, but somebody gonna crack her. So if it's a married man and that's what she into, then by all means, go for it. She's clearly not meant to be a wife, so she very much could be in the category of the discussion today.
Of a mistress.
Okay, go ahead, Miss Kelly.
Concubine.
Well, I remember Viz saying that we all need hoes.
What?
That's what he said. That's what he said.
The world need hoes.
The world. That's right. The world needs hoes. So, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like people do what works for them. So if that's what works for her, that's okay for her. However, I also believe in karma. So I don't think that's something that every woman is going to engage in. I don't know. I mean, different strokes for different folks, I mean, if he's out here cheating, that's one thing. But if his wife is aware of his whereabouts, then that's just an agreement that they have made upon each other. And, if it works, I get it. But I don't think I would be able to deal with that. I don't think that's
It's
something that I
becoming
would
more
desire.
and more normal. Like what you just mentioned about the wife knowing, like it's becoming very normal. Like
Right.
a lot of women that I talk to when I go to these groups and things, some of them, they don't want to be married because they feel like they have a better life dating married men. And just like what she said, like, one, just like what she said, well, they don't have sex with his wife because she can't.
Yeah, I think in some
So she don't know
situations,
nothing about the lady, but she knows that her husband does it, but she doesn't know who it is, what it is. And this girl got like 2-3 years history with this man, and the lady just probably think he's just gonna go to the strip club or get some girl real quick.
yeah,
But
I think it's circumstantial. I think some women feel like their husband desires so much that they can't give everything to them, and so it's okay. But I don't think that's traditional, and I don't know if it's necessarily something that a wife would want, but she may tolerate it.
Okay. Go ahead, Luis.
So, this scenario is not too foreign to most of us, I believe. Obviously, this is a more of a global phenomenon at this point. Women don't want. It's interesting. Women don't want polygamy, but they're willing to share a married man. I find that always interesting and fascinating. They don't want the tribe or the nation building concept, right? But they're willing to share another married man. So I've always said, like, uh, when there is a great man, there's always other women not too far behind. A lot of people are against polygamy, but then they realize that a lot of them are in polygamous relationships. They just don't know about it, or they just don't care. That's just the reality of it.
I don't care.
A lot of people are moving very fluidly in their relationships where there are very gray areas that have not really been talked about or ironed out. This is a classic example. Now, I can't speak to the validity of what that man's relationship is, but I'm sure he must have some sort of understanding, or he's moving in a very particular type of way. But it would behoove me to believe that his wife has not suspected something. out of all that time. She doesn't know. She might not care, or they're at a certain point in their marriage where they've settled in with each other and they're accepting and tolerable of certain things. That's a further discussion for certain individuals. But I think that today a lot of women are very comfortable with, being the side woman or the mistress, and it becomes easy for them because they don't need to report to anyone or be accountable to anyone. So again, it goes back to the ability to move fluid in your life without being attached to anyone, feelings included as well. And
Yeah,
yes, the world. Say again.
yeah. I was just saying, yeah. I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. So, and yes, the world needs hoes. I mean, that's an unfortunate statement. I've never had to make that statement, but it's the truth. They do make and help make the world go round. I just think that we've gotten to a place today that we have way too many hoes
Yes, Daddy.
and not enough nation building women. That's the reality. We have way too many hoes and not enough nation building women. And sort of we've done a complete opposite. When in the past we used to have a small minority, now they're starting to creep in to be more of the majority. And lastly, there's one thing that I want to say lastly. Damn, it was on the top of my mind.
You got to be careful what you say.
And it was good too. It was I was gonna close it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, we'll have to come back to me. It'll probably come back to me as well.
Okay.
Yeah, take the safe route, Louise. Take the safe route.
Internet's not a safe space, man. Go ahead, Miss Soulfully. What are your thoughts about it? Got to come off of mute. Let me see if I can do it. Oh, you got to do it on your end. It's at the bottom right there. Bottom of the screen. There you go.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay? All right. I'm not sure if there's a question that I'm supposed to be answering or...
We're just reacting to it. Just your thoughts about what she said about the woman states her preference for relationships is with married men, says it's convenient for me to date a married man. I don't think I'm destroying anybody's home because your husband is supposed to be my boyfriend.
I don't know if I can stand behind the second part about her not destroying a home, depending on what the dynamics are. But I mean, I know that that is something that happens. I know that there are men that have girlfriends that are married. I know that there are women who date married men. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have much to say. That last part that she put about not destroying a home, that's questionable because if, like, I think Viz said, unless it's like an open relationship or unless it's like a situation where they're in some kind of poly relationship, then yeah, you are potentially destroying a home. But yeah, I don't really have too much to say about the rest of it, except for just acknowledging that, yes, that certainly happens.
So what is the allure that you find that most women, gravitate towards a married man versus a single man, right? What is the
Are you
allure? Yeah, I'm asking you.
Oh,
What do you think seems to be
I would
attractive
say
to
that there are certain men who know how to treat and who know how to make women feel the way that women want to feel. And they know how to attract women, they know how to treat women. And those are generally the men that are married. And they tend to be able to attract more women than single men. Sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect between what single men understand about women and what married men understand about women.
You know, mute just so you know, Luis. I don't know if you said anything.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that adds an interesting caveat. I mean, I'm also wondering to myself, is it more of the presentation? Because I've seen men who were single and they've talked to a handful of women, and like the conversations went there, but then it dried out. It didn't really go anywhere. Pops up 6 months later, he's with a woman on his arm. He's out and about. They see him. Next thing you know, it's hi big head, and all the messages start flowing in, right? And we all know the kind of the catalyst that follows, right? And sort of, it's like, well, she did all the legwork for me. Now that I see him in this particular light, I want to now circle the wagon or spin the block, because now I could see what she might be seeing, or I might be missing out on what she already knows.
Can I chime in?
Hey, go ahead.
I think the appeal of dating a married man is less responsibility. For a single woman to date a married man, you don't have to deal with everything that the wife deals with. You just get the perks of the fun part of engaging with that man, which 9 out of 10 times is just a sexual fantasy or relationship. That's it. It's nothing more to it. And then on top of that, there are perks from a financial aspect. And I think that's what some women are okay with, because that's really all they want. And then they don't have to deal with the stress of maintaining the family and everything else that comes with that. I think that's the bottom line here. I'm not saying that it's okay, but it works for some women. Let me see, how many married men are on this panel? One engaged, one married? And
Yeah.
I'm sure you all know men that are married that have mistresses. And to keep their mistresses quiet, they pay to play. Simple mathematics. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, there's also a group of men and women that I think Luis has said it, that they're aware of the infidelities, but the wife is like, well, said, I'm tired of fucking them every day, or
Too
so
much
if
work.
if such and such can take that load off, then hey, more power to me. I'm gonna just keep my mouth quiet, and I'm gonna let him go and do his thing. As long as he taking care of home and giving me what I want, then hey, it works. So that's why I'm kind of in the middle of where it's like, of course it's wrong. It breaks the traditional values of marriage, but at the same time, it works for some people. I just recently watched the Menendez brothers on Netflix.
Yeah, me
And
too.
the mother knew that the father was having affairs, but she stuck around. So my question is it worse that the husband could potentially be having multiple affairs with multiple different women, or is it not as bad if he only has this one that's there? Is there a vast difference in there, as far as with how the wife may feel? If this nigga is just out just slanging dick everywhere, or does he just have this one woman that he's giving himself to? Is there a difference in the weight from a woman's perspective?
Are any of the women here married? I'm not.
Anika's married.
I'm divorced.
I'm married. I've been married 21 years. Um, and
So she has the secret sauce.
definitely, I mean, it's definitely hard work, and I'm not in a traditional marriage. I mean, my husband, I don't see him every day. He doesn't come home every day. I mean, he travels. He's in entertainment industry and music industry, and I had to adjust to him not being at dinner, him not us not being together on Valentine's Day, sometimes birthdays, anniversaries. Um, and you learn to figure out what works for you and what's important to you and what you value as individuals and relationship wise. Because, like, our relationship is not typical, and most people couldn't deal with it, to be honest with you. Um, and as far as infidelity or side chicks, I guess mistresses, go, like a female feeling okay with that, I agree with Kelly, because it does have a lot to do with, I mean, it's less responsibility for her. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that I have to deal with, if he were seeing somebody on the side, they don't have to deal with it. It's about the fun, you know. That's the fun chick. That's who you go when you just kick it. Y'all have a great time. You don't have to wonder or worry about anything responsible, about being a responsible adult. You don't have to worry about finances, bills, children, nothing. All you're supposed to do is go have a good time and take it to go home. And for the woman at home, she actually might feel delighted because the man is coming home happy. Y'all not arguing as much. He already pleased. Like you probably like someone else said, like you might not feel like doing it anymore, the wife, or as often. So it's um there's room for a little happiness at the house. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's a little lighter because she was there. But don't think that she might not have somebody making it light on her end too. You know, just just bullshit to the side. She may. So you find that happy medium, and then learn how to. I guess you kind of you appreciate each woman for different reasons because your wife is at home, they taking care of the kids, they taking care of the house, they're making sure that, there's food and all of this stuff, clothes are clean, all of I believe in roles, okay? So I'm more traditional in that aspect. Um, and he's gonna make sure. Now, I don't think no husband should be having no side chick that's not taking care of home at all. Like home has to be taken care of as far as the bills, as far as like she's still knowing you're there. You can't just be absentee. I mean, but you got to be, just making her feel appreciated. The kids know, you know what I'm saying? Dad got us, whatever the case may be. Dad loves us, but when it comes to personal needs, after a certain point in time, that one individual might not be able to satisfy that need anymore as much or as often.
So let me ask you a quick question, if I may. You said you've been married for 21 years, or were married for 21 years, correct?
I am married for 21 years.
Okay, thank you for the correction. So, in your personal in your personal lived experience, seeing women who were married, right? And since we're on the topic and we're talking about this, right? They stopped doing the things that made the marriage or the relationship um going flourish, right? It was the foundation. Like she stopped being feminist. She stopped having sex with him. She stopped doing a bunch of these things, but he never stopped being who he was from the very beginning. You know, he was still there. He was still, you know, the man, you know, is still a man in every single capacity. It's just that he has stopped doing these things. And sort of, I asked because you brought up some women are not okay with this, and sort of, I must ask the question: if women are not okay with their man stepping out or being in these types of dynamics, why is it that women want monogamy when they don't want to do the things that maintain and keep the relationship monogamous?
Well,
Right?
I think
Why?
keep going.
Yeah. I was just like, why would you stop, you know, catering in all these different aspects and still yet want all the rights and privileges that that man has bestowed upon you in this relationship and marriage?
I think that it honestly depends on the stage of the marriage, to be honest, because the things that were taking place while y'all were dating and or at the beginning of the marriage, depending on, I'm saying, well, my setup was like in order. So if you all didn't have kids already, everything is going to change once those come into the picture. Okay. And so that's stuff, that's things that you have to take into account. Once kids are involved, the whole relationship dynamic changes. So that hair might be in a bun, you know what I'm saying, instead of curled every morning like it was. Like, I mean, it's more things taking place and things that have to be done, more things that she is accountable for that she never had to be when it was just the two of you. So I think that in a marriage, that has to be taken into account because just realistically, you can't expect things to be like they were yesterday, even with a broke foot. You can't do the same things you were doing the couple days before it. You know what I'm saying? So just realistically, that whole relationship dynamic changes. And you have to give space and room and conversation about it. Like the expectation has to change. That's why people, especially with families, you know, those marriages, they do need date nights and stuff like you have to make time for stuff. You know what I'm saying? Create time if that's things that are important to you.
I just had a question for the panel. Can a relationship with a married man ever be fulfilling, or is it destined to end in heartache for everyone involved?
I doubt it would be heartache. I mean, I'm just talking just as a 21 year.
Wait, can you read that again?
Sure. Can a relationship with a married man ever be fulfilling, or is it destined to end in heartache for everyone involved?
You're saying with if it's a side chick,
Yeah.
the side.
So,
Oh,
right.
I think that the communication is more is completely open from the beginning in those relationships. So I don't think there should be any gray in those. You should be able to you still talking to them about everything. So both ends. So I think that it more times than not wouldn't be ending in heartache if you're upfront and honest and communicating from the start.
Mm.
There's an
So,
old
I think
saying,
some women, well, I know some women that are okay with their significant others or husbands stepping out. And I think this may answer something what Viz was saying. They prefer for it to be a spontaneous thing with somebody different. They don't want it to be one person because now it's a relationship, even though it is one in their minds. If he's just only doing this consistently with one person, he's building something. A lot of times they won't even leave until someone gets pregnant because that's another attachment that has now come between them and that marriage. So a lot of them prefer for their husbands to go out there and go to a strip club or something, or then to find somebody and build something with, and now y'all done got a whole situationship. Now you're in a poly relationship. So
I would honestly, just me, just being married for decades and all, I would prefer it being a single person. I don't want you out there slanging dick everywhere you go. That's messy. I would prefer you pick your poison and keep that.
All right, let me go ahead and get Hank involved in there. You want to say something real quick, Kelly?
Well, I was gonna say in regards to what Viz brought up as far as the Menendez brothers, the husband was cheating with men and women, or a man and a woman.
Yikes.
Um, I don't think that's healthy. I
Right.
don't. So for me, as a woman that's not married yet, I couldn't foresee that for me, but I also think, like Anika said, communication is everything. And I do know the relationships do change over time. So, maybe you're not able to foresee it, but it could be something that the couple might be willing to explore. I don't think I'm that explorative, but like I said, different strokes for different folks. And I do believe if you do want that relationship to last, you have to be understanding and you have to communicate. So
I know what I wanted to say earlier. It's ladies, it's not that you're not enough. A lot of you ladies, and I know Biz is gonna come for me. It's not that you're not enough. A lot of you are perfect and you're enough. It's just that there are certain men who are just too much. It's not that you're not enough. It's just that there are certain men who are just too much and
Too
need
much what?
they're just too much to kind of handle. They're too much. They have too
Like
much of
Diddy
a
too much?
Yikes.
no, not so much D too much. It's just that they're insatiable. They're insatiable lust. For either sex or for women, it's just on a higher, higher level than most other men, and, and,
Yeah.
and we have to be honest about that too. So
yeah,
that's why I preface my statement by saying it's not that you're not enough. It's just that there are certain men who are just too much.
I
They
think
have a high
there are
sexual appetite.
hypersexual men, a lot of hypersexual men. Um, but you have to know who you're marrying too before you enter a marriage with a hypersexual man. If you know that's not for you, then maybe you should be the mistress versus the wife.
A lot of women do know that, and they still want to marry that, even though they later like, oh, I can't keep up. But I don't want you to go out there and mess with anybody, though. I just want to put you in this jar and leave you on the shelf right here, and that's really what's happening. I swear, I've had these
Yikes.
conversations with certain dudes, and they're like, "Did she not know what she was signing up for? Like, what happened?"
Well, I guess with that being said, it validates the topic. Marriage isn't for everyone. Some
Huh?
people get into it just because they have that fairy tale in mind, like, okay, well, I want to get married, I want to have kids, I want to do this, I want to do that, but they don't know the responsibility that comes with it.
You want to say
I
something?
just wonder why, like, I wonder if men have that animalistic part that comes out of them and they want multiple women, why do they get married? Knowing that they do want multiple women.
It's simply because some men do want children and they do want a family, but they also want their cake and eat it too. The reality is that a lot of men are leaving a duality life. Like they have a great woman, they have a great wife, they have two young, beautiful children, but they also have a chick on the side that they love, they like to enjoy and smash from time to time, right? But they're a pillar in their community, they're hard work and they make great money, all this and that. But at times they like to do what they like to do on the side. They just can't have it all. And society won't allow them to have it all. And they'll box them, and you have to be this type of individual, right? And then that's where it creates a lot of issues because people can't have honest and transparent conversations. Be like, I love you. I want you to be the woman of my life. I want you to be the woman of my life and the mother of my children. But I also understand who I am internally, and I need certain things that unfortunately this relationship at times won't provide. I will ensure these certain things and these certain parameters if we could come to an agreement and understanding. If people don't want to even get to that certain point because they're afraid of what they're going to sign up. They don't understand what's behind the veil. That's the
Nope.
reality of the matter is. So that's why they're okay with not getting married. That's why they're okay with not being hitched. It's because they are trying to control every single moment of every single uh chapter in the relationship, as opposed to understanding what are the non-negotiables, what are the things that we agreed upon, and if things need to change, let's have a conversation and see if our feelings have changed. And if it hasn't, let's continue to rock out and live and lead a fulfilling life. But people are not there because unfortunately we live in a society that nobody likes to communicate and nobody talks open and honestly. Even if it hurts, be honest and be transparent. You will find that a lot of women are much more open to the idea and much more accepting if you're bringing it to them up front, as opposed to them finding out from somebody else. They're never mad that you cheated. They're mad that they got embarrassed by someone else finding out that you cheated. That's really what it is.
Mm-hmm. Let me
So
get
let
Hank.
me ask this
Oh, hold on,
question
hold
real
on, hold on.
quick.
Y'all. I'm gonna come back to. I'm gonna come back to Hank now first. Go ahead, Hank.
Man, I'm still tripping off the oversaturation of hoes in in the world. I mean, the oversaturation. God damn. Let me say this. Uh, Onika, is that how you pronounce your name?
Anika.
Anika.
Uh,
I could kind of relate to
Anika.
what you're saying. Talk about
Anika.
Anika. I'm sorry, Anika. I could kind of relate because I'm a traditionalist man and more man who believes more so in the gender roles. Uh, I don't think most men could really mentally or financially afford a second wife. So that's probably why they do the mistress thing. Because with a mistress, you don't have to financially support her. You might throw a little money on cash out to pay a rent every once in a while, maybe 2 times a year, throw a little Christmas gift or a nice little Valentine's Day gift or something like that. But other than that, you're not really invested into her. You know what I'm saying? The only thing you doing, you coming over and dropping that load and keeping it moving. You know what I'm saying? Hope you don't come out with an STD or a baby.
right.
So with that situation, most men are not trying to do the second wife thing. I know they talk about I like to have more. No, you don't. It's challenging to deal with one wife. Could you imagine having a second wife in your home and their menstrual cycles are on at the same time, and now we dealing with the same thing? Are they going through hot flashes at the same time, and we dealing with the same thing? And now they teaming up on you. You taking all the heat from both of the ladies because you ain't doing something right. Maybe you spent a little bit more quality time with her and not her over there. Yeah, that's a problem for men. Men don't want to deal with them headaches. Not really. So if I got you a mistress, you know the deal. You know what I'm saying? She going downtown on a girl trip. I'm sliding through. You know what I'm saying? It was a long night at work. I wanted to come through for a couple hours. I told her I'm gonna work a little overtime. I'm gonna come through there, lay up, watching Grey's Anatomy with her, and then we're gonna knock it down and get the hell on. You know what I'm saying? Maybe go over and break bread with her, have dinner. You know what I'm saying? DoorDash something over there and check Netflix and chill. A man's more willing to do that because there's no ties, like y'all said. There's no really a lot of accountability, a loyalty to her. Now some men start to create feelings with these side chicks. That's when I think the problems catch. That's when I think the problems kick in because now she's starting to feel a certain thing. I want more than just to be come on and get fucked on every other week. I'm looking for a real relationship now. Either one or two things gonna happen. You need to leave your wife, or it's over. And depending on how well she turns him up and turns him out, whether he won't give that thing up. Now he may tell her, he give her every story in the book. Nah, I'm gonna leave her. I just need to make sure the time is right. Y'all mentioned the Menendez brothers. Y'all remember the counselor? He had a little mistress, and she was involved in that bull crap. And he said, I'm gonna do it when the time is right. that time ain't gonna never happen. He's just gonna tell you that string you along to keep so he can keep coming over and knocking you down. But in reality, no, there's no future in
everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's no future in being a mistress unless you're a career mistress and that's what you want to do. Then good luck with that situation. But the issues and the troubles you got to deal with, I don't know why most ladies want to deal with that. Now I know, like y'all said, a lot of y'all ladies don't like sharing, but I think Louis already let me know y'all may be sharing, y'all just don't realize it. So somebody needs to have a conversation. I'll leave it there.
They are. That's what I said. They're afraid to have the conversation. But I will say this: we're not cultured. At least, black men currently, we're not raised or cultured to cultivate the ability to have two women or nation build with two women in that kind of capacity. We're just not. It's just a fantasy that most men have. But like to do it right and properly, like we're just not cultured that way. And that's just the reality of it. Because it is a lot of work and it is a lot of headache. And you have to have a stern personality and a stern position on how you navigate and how you conflict resolute between the two and how you split up quality time. And at times you're going to spend quality times together because at the end of the day, you got to view it as a team, as a group, right? Like we're all benefiting regardless. We all have each other's back. But unfortunately, like dudes is not raised or cultured that way. So they don't really know how to navigate that in the most beneficial way that will lead to a much more healthier relationship. If anything, they're going to create a very dysfunctional one.
All right, let's go and get Leah now.
Yeah, you had asked a question earlier that I don't think ever got addressed. And then what he just said kind of reminded me of the question that you asked. So do you mind repeating the last question that you asked, Lapeef?
Oh, the last question? Okay. The question was, can a
It was
relationship
something about, is it fulfilling or?
Yeah, can a relationship with a married man ever be fulfilling, or is it destined to end in heartache for everyone involved?
Okay. So yes, I don't know if the answer is that it can be fulfilling or not. But what I will say is if it's not fulfilling, then there is no incentive. I don't see any reason why a woman should deal with a man that's married if it's not going to be a fulfilling situation. And that's going to depend on what her needs are at that time. Because like you said, for men, they're going to do whatever is convenient for them. So if what's convenient for a married man is not fulfilling for you as a single woman, why would you deal with somebody who's gaining and you're not? I'll take that back. I will say, I think that yes, it can be fulfilling because different women have different needs and different men are at different points where they can fulfill those needs or not. So the only reason that I think that a woman should be dealing with a man if he's married is if it is a fulfilling situation. Otherwise, it just makes zero sense because like you said, if it's not convenient for him, then he's not going to do more than he has to because he doesn't have to. He has somebody at home.
Okay. Are you talking to this?
Yeah, I believe that it is fulfilling for them because, like she just said, why else would they be doing it? It's and we kind of touched on this subject I think last week as well, but it's that it correlates with dating a bad guy, a bad boy, a gangster or whatever. It's that you living on the edge, you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. It adds that extra little oomph into it, the sneaky link, and it's the mentality, or it's what comes with it as well. It's not having the responsibilities, but also knowing that you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. It's that extra little edge that that a person, man or woman, would get out of it. So I think that it is fulfilling, especially to the young lady that was making the statement in the video. It's 100% fulfilling to her because that's her why. When people realize or figure out what their why is in life, in relationships, in business, whatever the case may be, then that's what they're going to pursue, and that's what's going to fulfill them. So I think that yeah, it can be fulfilling, and depending on the dialogue and the communication, I think that there is a possibility of somebody being hurt, but at the same time, as they used to say back in the day, if you put it all on the table, it keep everything stable.
Okay, I have to chime in one more time. Sorry. So when we talk about fulfilling it sounded like you were talking about like sexual gratification or even like that sneaky factor that's like exciting for a woman. Yes, that exists, but we've been talking about women as side chicks throughout this conversation. That's just one element. There are also women that are sex workers. And so fulfilling to them might be getting the money at the end of the night. So it's not always about like, oh, they're trying to be sneaky and they're just trying to do something that's going to make them excited. It's like, no, some women actually are unprotected in the world. Some women are actually, single and they actually need to have their needs met. Maybe they're a sex worker by profession. And so dealing with a married man is fulfilling for them because he's going to pay their bills or he's going to be one of the people that's going to pay their bills.
I think that's a different conversation though, because if it's a sex worker compared to a woman that maybe she got all the shit together and she just can't find a solid man, but she's having this affair with the CEO or the executive, one of the executives at a job or something, or even a doorman. It's those are.
I don't think it's different.
I think it's different because
The motives are different.
a woman outside of a sex worker, they're not necessarily looking for the companionship. I think that women that choose, or people that choose to be side chicks, uh, if it's consistent, a big part of that is still the companionship that's there. Even though there may not be the full commitment, there's still some type of companionship there because it's a relationship at the end of the day. Unless it's one and done, then that's something different. But if it's something consistent, then at this point, it's a relationship. So that relationship comes with companionship. We now get into the routine of, like King said, me coming over and watching Grey's Anatomy. We having some wine, ordering some Chipotle, whatever, and we get into this routine of where I'll see you next Thursday. You know what I'm saying? Type of deal. So I think that there's a different element that plays a part of it once a person is now there strictly for the money if she's a sex worker.
All right, let's get Chanel. I know Chanel had a question and wanted to say something. Let's make sure we get her in there too, y'all.
I don't think it's relevant anymore now because we kind of moved on. But I was gonna ask,
Come on.
what is his what is the men's thoughts about a woman? What is your thoughts about a woman wanting to be fulfilled outside the marriage because she's not getting what she wants with a man?
What?
I think
that's unfathomable.
Louis, is it Louis? Yeah, Louis was talking, and he was just talking about men and all that stuff, and being fulfilled, and we can work this out. Does that go both ways, or is it automatically that that's only acceptable for the man?
I mean, honestly, in today's climate, it could be for both parties. I mean, I don't gatekeep on the relationship dynamics that are out here today. Which unfortunately, there's like so many that I can't even personally name or keep up with. Each each their own understands their needs and in what capacity they're willing to care, love, or contribute into that relationship. And if they know that they come up short in certain areas, or they care about this person that they don't really care about sex that much, or they don't care about whatever this is over here, and they're willing to forego that, they have an understanding amongst themselves, right? And they make that work. This is why I say everybody's relationship should be, not discussed openly to all their peers, because they don't understand the dynamics and the workings of it behind the scene. They understand each other and they have an understanding. It's just that people who are on the outside trying to look in behind the veil think that what's going on, and tend to kind of throw stones and try to poke. But in reality, you have to protect that, because you understand what you signed up for, and you understand your person, and you understand in what capacity you're able to care or love for that person. You just don't need to share that with everybody. And unfortunately, people get to the point where they feel like they have to put everything on Front Street just to validate the reasons why their dynamic works for them.
But can you tell me at what point would a man think that would a man be okay with his woman doing that and not saying anything? Like back to the beginning, we were talking about
I'll
their
be honest with you.
suspicions.
There's a ton of guys like that. I mean, I personally don't know them, but I know of them. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of guys like that. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
They're just not they they're not firm in their position. They're not very strong. They don't really have a backbone. And there are some guys who, unfortunately, let's just call a thing a thing. We are in the era of the cuck area. You got a ton of guys who are okay watching their chick get ran through by Daryl, you know what I'm saying, from the gym.
Yes, daddy.
Let's
I
just
don't know
call
men
it thing.
like that.
Let's just call a thing a thing. And there's tons of dudes like that. And you see them, they dress well, they got that front demeanor, but reality behind the scenes, they're like, really? You're into this? You allow your wife? Like, I don't care. I don't judge. I don't have no I don't have no stake or stock in the
I
matter.
don't care.
But I find that to be the more current thing. And I find that to be among men who have bought into this sort of ideal that happy wife, happy life, you know what I'm saying? Like a very submissive and very passive and soft man. That's really what it is. Those chicks are walking over them, man. And it's not that they are doing it from a loving perspective, like this is their kink and this is their thing, and their husband or person understands them. No, it's just that this guy provides all these things that I want a man to do, but I'm not sexually aroused by him. But I'm going to allow this man, you know what I'm saying, to allow me to go sleep with this other man who I know sexually arouses me and fulfills me in that manner. Let's be very honest. There are a lot of dynamics out there. There are placeholder husbands who operate in that function.
Man, I think that those men as well, that's just what they're into. That's I don't think that they're necessarily allowing for the woman to run over them. That's just what they're into. They got the money. They're willing to trick off. They get off by seeing their woman, their wife, whatever, get cracked by another dude in front of them. Ask her about it.
Wait, what did I miss now? Wait, what happened? I was tucking my daughter
I
in.
think
See the rose? I was going to tuck my baby in. So now, wait,
no.
what
So
was the question that got us to Diddy? No.
I mean, it's we right now we live in a very open sexual era where people they're more comfortable with a lot of the stuff that people were quiet about. So I think that if a guy, he could be a lame, he could be a guy with a ton of money, and if he gets this beautiful woman that maybe he can't please completely, or maybe he got a micro peen, or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
and he gets off by seeing that, or at the minimum knowing it, and
seriously.
I just think that it's so interesting because men, where I come from, I was always told, like, I mean, when a man sees his woman, if she's giving her body to another guy, like, you don't see her the same way anymore. So how can you be?
No,
How men are okay with that?
I mean,
it's true.
it's different strokes for different folks. Me personally, hell no, I can't go for that. I'm not standing for that at all. But there are some men out there that, hey, shit, fuck it, why not? There's a guy, Adam 22. He married a porn star, and he let his porn star wife get cracked by by a black guy. On
And
camera.
he's getting cracked by men.
That's what I'm saying. We live in an open.
But they're sex workers. We're not talking about. We're talking about regular people. I don't know men who are okay with their women, whether they're in a dating relationship, talking relationship, or a marriage, who are okay with their significant others sleeping with other men. I don't know a lot of men like that. I don't know any men who are just okay with that. And like Luis said, he said he doesn't know anyone personally, but he knows that there are plenty of them out there. Are any of the men on this panel okay with that?
No, hell no.
Nope.
That's what I'm saying. So that's not.
Kelly, do you know any people? Do you know anybody that does heroin?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
do you?
Interesting friend group.
What?
I don't know personally, but I know.
I know people that do drugs. Yes.
What's the point you was making with that, Viz?
But my point with that is that even though we may not know someone personally that's into it, we can't deny the fact that there are people out there
I know multiple people in open relationships. A lot.
Right. But let me see, 9 of us on this panel, and probably 1 or 2 that know people that are in open relationships.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that it may not be as common as for everybody. I think open relationships are out there, but I can't necessarily say that it's common amongst my circle of associates, not friends. So I don't can't use that word anymore. But yeah, I just don't think it's a commonality amongst many people. But I know we all come from different backgrounds. And those people that are in open relationships, if that's what works for them, it works. But I don't think the common thing that works is open relationships. I think most people are traditional.
So Kelly, are those people being honest about their relationship dynamic and what they're signing up for? Like, do they understand that they're together, but it's open on one side, or it's open on the other side, or it's open on both sides, right? There's a discussion and an understanding that revolves in that relationship, right? Or are these people got into this relationship thinking that they're both monogamous, thinking that they're both faithful and they're both honest, but in reality is, one of them is operating from a very nefarious standpoint?
Well, I think for the people that I know, I think they're monogamous with each other. But, I can't say that every single relationship that I am aware of, I can't speak. For me, I see things on the outside looking in. I am not deeply involved in anybody's relationship, but from what I know, I feel like they're monogamous towards each other. And yes, I do know people that have alternative lifestyles too, but it's just not one of the common lifestyles that I'm aware of.
Okay. We do got to switch gears similar, but let me go ahead and get Cloud Jones to give us final thoughts on this and maybe listening. What are your thoughts about it, Cloud? Frozen?
Yo, clout is
That's
frozen in
funny.
the
I'm
matrix.
sorry. That freeze is funny to me.
Yo, somebody clip it.
Somebody got to screenshot it.
I don't like that shit. Like that shit. Oh. Now going once, going twice. Cloud Jones, you there? Out.
That's crazy. Yo.
Hey, we can hear you now. He's back.
I don't know what's
Oh,
going on.
yes.
There you go.
Yeah, my internet been acting trippy. But what I wanted to answer was I forget who it was, but they asked the question of if men would be comfortable with one of those type arrangements, right? And I feel like the real question is if women would be comfortable with that arrangement, because I think men generally defer to like what women are attracted to and what women respond to. And I think that in most cases where you find that a woman has multiple men, she picks one. And so generally like in most cases that I've seen, this could just be anecdotal, but whenever I've seen a situation where a woman has two options and one man allows her to have a second option, she usually chooses the second option. Like it's very rare that women even want to entertain, like unless it's like they got a boyfriend and like a side dude, but even so, a lot of times women are just more likely to just leave or move on or just monkey branch to the next person. So the real question is like, are women even comfortable with that situation? I think that most women would respect a guy who has another woman more than they would respect a man who would let them have another man. So I'll end there.
Facts. That is a valid point.
Okay. What you got in that cup, Viz?
That's a good way to end that segment.
I know that's not no whiskey, man, with the cubes in there. You can get a solid cube in there, man.
No. There's some Douce and lemonade.
Okay. All right, hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. We're gonna go ahead and keep it moving. I'm gonna go ahead and tap into this main topic. And then I got another video on the back end, but let me go ahead and put it into play. So in the Bible, there was a scripture. Now this is the MJ version. I think MJG. No, that's the artist, right?
What?
Yeah.
MSG. So this is Matthew 19, 11 through 12, MSG version, right? Have to simplify for people just in case they didn't really want to go deep and talk. You said what?
Madison Square Garden Bible.
Yeah. But Jesus said, not everyone is mature enough to live a married life. It requires a certain aptitude and grace. Marriage isn't for everyone. Some from birth seemingly never give marriage a thought. Others never get asked or accepted. And some decide not to get married for kingdom reasons. But if you're capable of growing into the largeness of marriage, do it. So that's the MSG version. Feel free to go to Matthew 19, 11, 12 and read the other verses and interpret it how you so see it. I am going to play this clip because we do want to go ahead and dive a little deeper with it.
Get married if you don't want to be with, you know what I mean? Marriage isn't for everybody. Some people should stay single because that's who they are. They are so self-involved that they don't have room for anybody else in their life. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you heartless. It doesn't make you mean. Some of the things that you said in here are a little heartless. But the fact that you don't need to be married is cool. But don't drag somebody into your, if you're solipsistic, just be alone.
Let's go ahead and get into it, man. Every woman's purpose is in marriage. I always said this, man. I think nobody desires to be alone. I don't think nobody grows up wanting to be alone. I think that there may be some unfortunate experiences that they may endure, or something happens where that thought, the idea of being with someone and sharing that experience for life shifts and changes, and so they become bitter and they do not want to be in a relationship because they do not want to mimic that feeling, that hopelessness feeling that they had, that hurt, that pain that they felt. So they just rather just be alone. That's just my thoughts about it. But let's go ahead and get into it. Every woman's purpose is in marriage. I'm gonna go ahead and start with Chanel. What are your thoughts about that, man? And be honest. There's
To
somebody
be
out there.
honest,
Yeah, there's
if I
somebody out
think
there
that,
that thinks just like you, and they just waiting on you to come through with a message.
but the question is marriage for every woman, basically?
I guess I'm gonna have to just ask y'all direct questions. I said a whole lot.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, I said a whole lot. So every woman's purpose is in marriage. Do you agree with it? What are your thoughts about it? I know I read the MSG version of what they said in the Bible that I said it wrong, Cloud.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. All right. But I read
I think every woman's purpose is to get married. Unfortunately, the people that they meet in their path in life, it determines that. I don't think that there's any woman that does not haven't thought about being married, whether it's with another woman or another man, just being with a significant other for the rest of their life. I think everybody wants that. Um, but I think just the way life has changed, the way dating has changed, and relationships are more open. Marriages aren't respected as much as they used to anymore, and now marriages are more open. Everything has changed so much. The stakes are so different now. Um, like we've been talking about, it is almost to the point where being single and just having a boyfriend or a side guy is more beneficial in someone's lifestyle at that point in time. So um, after I had my divorce, when I was at 28, after I had my divorce at 28, like I didn't want to get married again. Like all of my 30s, I don't want to get married again. And now I'm in my 40s, I'm, different. I've dated, I've grown, I've learned more things. And now I'm like, okay, I can do it again. But I think it just depends on where a woman is at in her life. But I think every woman's purpose is to get married. That's what we want. That's what we were put on earth, to do. I still believe that.
All right, shout out to you. Let's go ahead and go to Cloud.
I don't necessarily think everybody's purpose is to get married. I think particularly for women, their purpose may be to procreate. But I think that that's really what marriage is supposed to represent. Like it's really a symbolic of like an achievement of like a solid partnership with the opposite sex and a solid parentage of children, right? But yeah, I don't think everybody really is made for it. And personally, I think that really marriage is for people, not necessarily people are for marriage. So I think we have this idea like everybody's supposed to be married, like everybody's supposed to be married, but we made marriage. Marriage is a human idea. It's a human concept. And people grow, people change, people learn new things. And I think that we created marriage to serve a purpose in a particular time. And I think that the conflicts that we're facing today are due to the disconnect between the times where marriage was created and how things function then and the way things function now. I think that disconnect, I think we're trying to find like a way to apply marriage because marriage is like, it already has its rules and its ideals of how it's supposed to work. But I think a lot of people are finding difficulty applying it, especially if they don't subscribe to a specific religious ideology or a particular school of thought. It's very hard for people with a more modern perspective to apply marriage to their lives. So that's really what I think it is. I think we created marriage and it can be great. It can be terrible, but I don't think it's necessarily that everyone is supposed to do it.
Okay.
Can I chime in real quick?
Sure can. Go ahead.
Um, I think a lot of people want a traditional marriage in this new dating, or whatever you want to call it, but there's no traditional marriage examples out there anymore, you know. And what I mean by that is, when I was raised, like, I saw my grandmother and my mom, like, they were at the house every day, cooking, cleaning, washing clothes, talking on the phone all day. You know, my dad, you know, everybody did their thing. That's what I saw, that's what I know. But I also have a best friend. Her mom, you know, we grew up together. Her mom never was married, always had a boyfriend here and there. And we are like night and day. You know what I'm saying? I'm always thinking about, you know, cooking for a guy, and she always thinking about what she gonna order and he can have some of her food. Like, the thought process is different. But she's used to just looking out for herself and looking out for her daughter, because that's what her mom did. And me, I'm just naturally a domesticated type of person. So I think right now, this new generation, they don't have that anymore, because it's not existing anymore. It's not being, you know, represented anymore. Now, you know, side chicks and side dudes and all that's being more represented, but the verbiage still comes out of a man and a woman's mouth. They want a traditional marriage. They want gender roles. But the reality is, it's just not there anymore.
Oh,
To add to what you just
I would
said,
have to challenge that and say that that it is. I think that it just varies, just how you said. If you went to your grandparents' house versus the friend's mother's house, these are two different people that are living life completely differently. There's plenty of platforms uh, of men and women that are married, and they have a traditional style of marriage. It's just all about, and I was speaking on this yesterday. It's all about the diet that you're intaking. What information are you intaking? What type of people are you surrounded around? Because there are absolutely married couples that are having successful relationships that's lasting 20, 30, 40 years. The only problem is that to this newer generation that we're living in, it's not sexy. It's not sexy to submit to your husband or to your wife. It's not sexy to work and go through the struggles of marriage, of choosing each other every single day. It's not sexy to do that. It's sexy to go outside and be promiscuous, to show your body, to flash money, to attract and want hoes and all of this other shit. That's sexy right now. But there's another group of people that's not sexy to. So it's really all about the old saying of birds of a feather flock together. So if you're surrounding yourself around people that aren't interested in that, then absolutely you're not going to see it and you're not going to be attracted to it. You're not going to want it. But if you're surrounded around people that are an example of that lifestyle, then that's what you're gonna that's what you're gonna reflect.
I think what you just said, a little bit, in a way, it was kind of contradictory, right? Because you said, well, there's traditional marriage, but then all the things that you described about things not being sexy anymore is essentially describing that we don't live in a traditional world. On top of that, I want to add this, like, what you may be describing, what you're describing probably as a traditional marriage isn't even traditional, probably. And that's how far we've gotten from traditional marriages. Like, for example, I hear a lot of women say, oh, the men used to pay all the bills, the men used to provide. The men were also the only ones who could get jobs at one point. You know, they weren't competing in the marketplace with women. I hear the men say, and then at the same time, you know, the same women that are saying that, they're not virgins. They drink alcohol. They have jobs. You know, so it's like, marriage was created at a time where only men worked, women were virgins, they were given in marriage by their fathers who were home and present. Women are giving themselves in marriage today. There are so many weddings that happen where there's no father even walking the daughter down the aisle. But then we're making this the point that marriage is somehow still traditional. There's nothing traditional about that. And what we're doing is we're it's kind of like a little fixer upper. Like we're constantly slapping on new new things to marriage to adjust it and make it work to the world that it's in now. But if you were to take the average marriage today and present it to the people in the past when marriage was more traditional, they would even consider those marriages to be horrible. They would look at these marriages like, what? Your wife is disrespecting you. Your husband is a bum. Like there would be so many their standards then were entirely different than the standards now, simply because of the society we live in. So I do understand your point, though. I think it is true, though, that there are a lot of people who don't want to put in necessarily the work or the dedication that comes with marriage. But I also think what's being overlooked is that we live in a world where they don't have to. People in the past were shamed if they weren't married. They were getting married to have sex. I mean, even in the Bible, Paul says it's better to marry than to, better to stay single as I do. But if basically better to marry than to burn. People in that time were marrying because they could not openly engage sexually with the opposite sex unless they were married. They would be stoned to death. They would be, hung in the public square. They would be called heretics. That's not the generation we live in anymore. We live in a generation where people can have sex with whom and whatever they want now. I made a joke in the chat earlier about when they were talking about women being satisfied, and I said my joke was like, yo, you can go buy any size and shape dick you want at the store. At the end of the day, that's the world we live in. We live in the world where during the pandemic, the number one product that was for sale on Amazon that they were shipping was dildos and vibrators. So we're not living in a world where people need to get married to be able to have a relationship, to be able to there were people who got married just to be able to go out on dates privately. You remember, there was traditional marriage. You didn't even date alone. You dated in groups. Your parents had to get to know this person. That's not the world we're living in now. So if we really want to talk about traditional marriage, we have to take it all the way traditional, because anything that's not that is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that new age stuff. Like, we're living in a whole different world. And again, we're trying to piece it all together and make something work. But it's like we're living in a different world. And I say this all the time. I think what it is that I think there's a process called destroy and rebuild. I personally believe that people are too attached to the idea of marriage as it stood. And there needs to be a process societally of rebuilding what the idea of marriage is in general, because it has to be restructured to be able to apply to the world that we're currently living in. Or if not, it's going to continue to fail. And if we're being honest, it's failing. Most marriages end. More than 50% of them end in divorce. The ones that don't end in divorce, those people aren't necessarily happy. Those you have abuse, you have all type of stuff going on where even if they're sticking together for 30, 40 years, that doesn't mean that it's a success. So I'm gonna land there.
Let me challenge that real quick. So I personally, when I say a traditional marriage, I'm not solely speaking on the financial responsibilities. To me, traditional marriage is much more than that. It's much more than just a financial responsibility to this woman. A traditional marriage is you bringing forth life into the world. A traditional marriage is upholding to the gender roles of the man protecting his household and being the head of his household, the woman being the nurturer and the helpmeet to her husband. Those are, to me, are the traditional roles that I think should never go aside, regardless of what era it is that we live in. So I understand what you're saying, but for me, there are some things that I believe and stand firm on that I can't conform to what the world is saying that we should do. Because if I don't agree with that, then that's just not the type, that's not the perspective or the way that I perceive the world. So for traditional marriages is so much more than just the surface level of the woman staying at home and not working and the man paying all of the bills. Because even at some point, there were marriages back then that they weren't doing that. I don't believe that every single marriage was doing that, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't traditional. I think that it's the values that's traditional. It's the purpose behind marriage that's traditional, that should be upheld, and that is how you have a long-lasting and healthy relationship. So I get what you're saying. I agree, because we absolutely live in a completely different world, but at the same time, it's what are your values, and how easily are you bendable to conform to this world. So that will be my rebuttal to it.
I think we're getting to a place where we're saying the same thing. Can I just ask him one more
Man,
because I think we're at a place where we're like on the same page. Like we're basically saying the same thing.
I agree. We on the same page.
We gotta shut him.
I really just want to know, like, what would you describe as like
right? But then he gonna answer, and then you gonna have something. I'll keep going. Let me play this clip and let's get Brother Hank in there, y'all.
Get married. I don't want any of these women. I think women definitely do the same thing too. It's like we've had this string of bad relationships, so then we convince ourselves that we don't want to get married, or we say I'd rather be single. But you can't say you'd rather be single if you've never experienced a real man. You are saying you don't want to be married to those men, to those mistakes. But sometimes you don't even know what exists
until you feel that. Like, you don't even think about marriage until you feel it with somebody. You like, oh, wait,
so you turned off by the idea
of
doing it with the wrong person, for sure. And I think, like you were saying, men don't, or you might have said, Troy, men don't want to feel like they're giving up, you know, that. But I think women are the same. Like, our fear sometimes is giving up our independence.
All right, so to keep the conversation going. Go ahead, Brother Hank.
So, am I replying about what just the video you just played, or just the one?
Everything, society, every woman's purpose is in marriage is everything. Any thoughts that you want to add to it?
Okay, so yeah, I don't think every woman's purpose is to marry. I mean, there's just some women just don't believe in it. They don't agree with it. They're not for it. They're not with it. But at the same time, but for those women who are, they whatever man that they're in a relationship with, they need to let it be known. What you can't do is play house 5, 6, 7 years down the road, then all of a sudden you come up, I want to get married. Man, it's too late. He didn't play house, he done laid up, he been knocking you down. Y'all been living with each other, and y'all up 2-bedroom apartment, maybe even had a kid or two, and now all of a sudden you decide 7, 8 years down the road, Junior's about to graduate from high school, you want to get married. Nah, it's too late now, man. More likely he's not going to marry. He said, man, we might just keep doing what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? We do it now, we mess around and get a divorce, and then what? We wasted time. We could just stay boyfriend and girlfriend and just live it out the rest of our life and just lived it up like that. So, ladies, you got to let it be known from the giddy up. Well, that may be your first, second, or third date. You know, marriage is my end goal. He asks you, what's your 2, 3 year, 4, 5 year plan? You need to say marriage, if that's what you want. Because if you don't, and you say everything, I want to get my PhD. I want to get a house. You know, I want to have some kids. But nowhere in there you say nothing about marriage. Man's going to take all that intel and he's going to listen to you. He's going to hold you to that statement you made. Baby girl, you say nothing about marriage when we having that 5-year plan. We talk about that 2 years from now, what you plan on doing. You said nothing about marriage. Why? Because you were trying to pursue your degree. Cool. You trying to pursue your career at your workplace. But you said nothing about marriage. But now, 5 years down the road, you look for marriage. Why? And he don't need to messing up a good thing. Because that's how he's going to feel. We're going to play house as long as you let us. We're going to continue to fuck on you as long as you let us. Until you put us in a situation where we have to make a decision, we're not going to do it. So, ladies, y'all better let it be known. If that's what you're into, that's what you want, then do it. Now, with that being said, ladies, if you're going to do it, go and do it. Because guess what? You got to come with a lunch pail and a hard hat every day. It's work. It's not easy. Don't make divorce an option. When you speak that into your relationship, the chances it's going to happen is going to happen. And it might end up happening 2 months from now. Why? Because you brought that into as an option into the relationship. Don't allow that to be the case. Keep that negativity out of the relationship. It shouldn't even be a conversation piece. If we're going through some hard times, we need to get on this goddamn couch behind me. And we need to talk about this. And we're going to figure this shit out. Me and you. Don't bring your mama. You'll bring your daddy, your auntie, your cousins, your best friend. None of them heifers or none of them hard ankles need to be getting involved in our relationship. Why? Why they get involved? They didn't marry you. I did. They ain't got my last name. You do. So why are they involved in our relationship? They shouldn't be. Now, if we can't figure it out between me and you, because it's a circle of two, then we're going to get a third party. We're going to go to counseling. And we're going to have a conversation with a therapist, a neutral, independent party who's going to bring some independent, non-biased. Kelly, we talked about this bias, right? We're going to bring this non-biased conversation and we're going to talk about it and we're going to figure this shit out. Me, her, and this counselor. I prefer a man, not a woman. Nothing against the ladies. But a female counselor is going to play on the emotions. That's not what we're doing here. That's not what we're doing. We're not going to be playing on emotions because she's able to turn the tears off, turn the faucet on and off. No, we're not doing that. I'm not going to keep handing you a goddamn tissue or your therapist going to keep handing you a tissue because you're going to play up with these emotions. Nah, bullshit. We're going to have the conversation. You're going to have the tough conversation right then and there. It shouldn't be a game, ladies. It's nothing to play with. Because at the end of the day, a lot of things can happen in a marriage. You're going to have some up and down. You're going to have some peaks. You're going to have some valleys. We talked about it on King Talk yesterday. The mental part of the marriage and going through a divorce. Mentally, it affects you way more than anything financially. A man more than likely could rebound financially. Ladies don't do so well financially. Oh, you might get that quick lick after divorce, but you maintain it. Most of them can't. Why? Because maybe they was dependent on that man's income for maybe 5 to 10 years. And all of a sudden that income ain't the same no more. You may be getting that little child support check. But guess what? Eventually it's going to run out when that child turns 18 or 21 or when they graduate from college or high school. Or maybe you got lucky and you got a little alimony. But that's only going to be short-lived unless you live in California. Because you got states like Florida who's not going for that bullshit. You got states like Texas, they got a cap on child support. So then what you going to do? Again, like I said, you got to go in there with your hard head and your lunch pail and ready to put that work in every day. It's not going to be easy, but y'all can do it. As long as you got two people willing on doing it. I'll leave it there.
All right, go ahead, Miss Kelly.
So I found this scripture that my grandmother always used to say. And it's Genesis 2:18-24, King James Version. It says, "And the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. Out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the air and brought him to Adam to see what he would call him." She used to say that a lot before she passed. And to me, it just says that we should all have someone. And that doesn't necessarily mean marriage, right? It could just be a companion. It could be I don't want to use this word friend anymore, but an associate, it could just be someone that's your person. So yeah, marriage may not be for everybody. And I know that we're living in modern times, right? And a lot of modern people still maintain traditional values. So I think it's based on your wants and your desires. Some people really do want marriage and some people really just want someone. So I think we just have to figure out what that is that we want and what works for us.
All right, go ahead, Sophie.
I think I agree with you, Kelly, that not everybody is probably meant for marriage. Clout said something earlier. He said women are meant for procreation. And I don't even know if I fully agree with that. I mean, obviously we have the ability to procreate, but I think that everyone's purpose is to find their purpose. And for some people, their purpose is going to involve coupling up and getting married. For some people, it's going to involve procreating. And for other people, it's not going to involve that. A lot of times we don't take into the account how people are raised and how people come into the world, like the different traumas and the different issues that people have that make them really not relatable. There are some people out here who are not relatable and they shouldn't be in relationships or close relationships. And there are other things that they need to work out in their lives. And there are other purposes in their lives that they need to fulfill. So relationships might be one of the last things that they tackle, and marriage may never happen for them. But for those people that do get married, I agree with him. Like, you need to come with your hard hat, know that it's going to be work. Just because you get into a relationship and that you're coupled up, you didn't win a prize, because that can be taken away from you at any moment if you're really not on your grind, if you're really not showing up as you need to into that relationship. Then that relationship, we don't want to talk about divorce, and nobody goes into marriage thinking that that's what's going to happen. But if you think that, this is just something that is owed to you, or that this is your purpose, or that this is, something that you deserve, you might not show up as you should. So that's my perspective.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get Nika. Did I pronounce it correctly? Okay.
I definitely don't think that marriage is for everyone. I do believe in the sanctity of marriage. I also agree with something that was said a while ago, something about relationships and kind of letting it be known what your expectations are when you're dealing with someone. Like for me, I'm from a two-parent household. I was in a long relationship. I think from high school, I went off to college with my boyfriend. I just knew we were going to just get engaged and be married and just live happily ever after. I think that for me, a woman has to see a certain level of confidence in the man she's dealing with, to respect that and respect him fully. And I was dating somebody. He was a good boyfriend. But I guess the expectation was, I knew I was not about to move wherever he got a job after college as his girlfriend. I wasn't about to do that. So I was expecting, us to get engaged. By the time he graduated, we'd be getting married, because he was going to be there a couple years longer than I because of his major. Fast forward, I graduated, went to grad school, finished, and I met someone else, and we started talking, I guess, at first, and then when we started dating, it did not take long. He already knew I was in a long relationship. I wasn't about to do that again. So we dated 4 months. He proposed. He was already living in LA. I was in Chicago at the time. And when we got engaged, 4 months later, we were married after that. Callie did my hair. Hey, friend. And and we've been married, but it's less about the expectation. He was also from a two-parent family, from a household of such. And it was kind of like I immediately moved to LA. Probably a week later, he was gone. On tour. But the whole time, the 21 years, it's been a challenge, ongoing, because marriage is work. You have to know already in your head that if that's what you want to, and yes, it does take two. It can't be both people have to want it in order to maintain it. And we have two kids, 18 and 6. So, but I look at my son who's now graduating and a freshman in college, but I know, I just went to go see him last week at school. Met the little girl he's talking to now, his girlfriend. He actually FaceTimed me so I could meet her before I came down there for homecoming or any visit. But the thing is that because he saw his father and I, he's seen that throughout his life, relationships are important to him. I mean, I know he wants to be married. He wants to be a husband. He's going to be, he doesn't want to just date several women and stuff on campus. He want to walk around with his girl holding her hand because that's what he knows. So, and that's what he's seen, and that's what he saw with his both sets of grandparents as well. So I do think that it does make a difference, your exposure, your level of exposure, growing up, positive or negative, as far as naturally what you're going to seek out. Of course, life happens and things happen and everything doesn't go exactly according to plan or what you would think. But in general, you do kind of go after what your foundation is. And what you know, especially if you know it to be correct, and not something that is just normalized. That's actually abnormal. That's a whole nother conversation. But at some point, you know the difference. And no, it's not for everyone, but it is for a lot of people. At the same time, society is completely different. I mean, like as far as my daughter, and I could say my son too. Now you need more background history with the people. You know what I'm saying? Like, what were you at birth? I mean, all of these are completely different things we didn't have to think about that are into play. I also don't believe in dating apps. I need to meet you in real life. If I can't meet you in real life, then I don't need to know you because you can be whoever you want to be online. So I just, some of my friends have done it, but even if I were to get divorced tomorrow, I wouldn't do it just because that's just not in my makeup. So I still believe in real human interaction. And what else? I just think that it's different strokes for different folks, of course. But I think that marriage is something that it's not archaic. It's still happening in 2024, and it's going to continue to happen as long as there are two people that find one another and feel that they have things that they want to work together towards as far as goals in life and love and everything in between. I don't think, I mean, the long and short of it, that's my thought.
JR, looks like I got two members already fill out applications for the dark side. C Soulfully and Okane. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just butchering her damn name.
Anika.
Yeah, Anika. My friend Anika.
Wait,
she's
what's the dark side?
His side.
Oh, it's my side. Welcome.
Let me just insert this last clip and we'll keep it going to the folks that haven't spoken yet, just to wrap it up.
Generation, a good marriage was a marriage that lasted for umpteen years. For our generation is like, am I happy? Am I fulfilled in the whole nine? How is that affecting the process of mating and the process of settling or settling down?
Because the thing about being happy and fulfilled it's not the responsibility of the other person. It's your responsibility. The only thing that other person's supposed to do is add to what you've already have been creating for yourself. And you're supposed to be able to coexist together where they're an individual, you're an individual, and you guys are working and you're choosing to be together.
I think what's tough about that is like when we hear stories about like our parents and our grandparents, that wasn't their paradigm. They needed each other. There was no, I'm coming in as an individual. Grandma was 14, grandpa was 15. They ain't have shit. They built everything by themselves, but that's not going to work in 2023.
My parents that have been married now for 44 years, and they're older. They're in their 70s. So this is an older generation baby boomer relationship where we like that's a whole different ball game right there, you know, where you stick it out with your partner and y'all make it work. But today it's like, do I want to make that work with this person?
All right. Go ahead, Luis.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to wake this shit the fuck up, man. I know it's late, but I'm definitely gonna have to wake this up. You know, are women, is marriage most women's purpose in 2024? I say no, no, and no. And this is the reason why I have come to that conclusion. And mind you, I've taken the opportunity and liberty to hear everybody out. I've also have had these conversations in the background and have listened to women in a lot of these different types of videos, right? And one of the things that I've come to realize is that we've civilized the world and we've civilized this country to the point that most women, they don't want a boyfriend, they don't want a husband because they have 911. They have the police on their at the fingertips. They have fire on their fingertips. They have care on their fingertips, right? There are so many conveniences that we have created and civilized in this country that most people walk around like they don't need nobody because they have everything at the touch of their fingers and on an app. Let's just be very honest. The instant gratification generation has gone 10x. Crypto couldn't even keep up with this delusion that we have today. Let's be very honest. And sort of what has been created is this identity idea of freedom. Women today have too much freedom. Women today have too much opportunity and choice, and sort of they're not electing to want marriage or long-term fruitful. They're chasing what purpose is, which I at times don't understand what that looks like in terms of how they qualify. Because if purpose is something that is only self-gratifying, right, then that's really not purpose. Because I can tell you that a lot of men out here who are in purpose are giving benefit to society. Just think about all the things that are being built today. Everything from medicine, everything from infrastructure, everything from overall protection. Shoot, we might be on the verge of World War III. I promise you, we're not shipping all our women out to the front lines. So let's be very honest about that. So again, I think we've just civilized the world to a very comfortable pace that people really navigate in a certain type of arrogance that they don't really need people. And sort of what I think, and I have come to the conclusion that most women today, they don't want a husband. What they want is a submissive provider. Women today want a submissive provider. What does that mean and what does that look like? I want the dude to pay the bills. I want the guy to show up in a particular type of way, to give me attention, to do all these things that our relationship like, but allow me to dress however I want, to move however I want, to talk to whoever I want, and not adhere to certain boundaries within a relationship, contacts, and at times put myself in compromising situations that might be detriment to the relationship. We spent a whole segment at the beginning of the program talking about relationship dynamics and people being honest, and how people are just comfortable with being the mistress and moving in a particular type of way. People have given up on those ideals because they find convenience in the idea of fluidity, not being able to attach themselves to something, because unfortunately how they see themselves, they don't see themselves as serious. So that's why I've come to the conclusion that most women don't want a provider. They want submissive providers. They want dudes who have no backbone, that allow them to do whatever they want, and they can navigate any way they want. Clout Jones gave a great example earlier when he gave the two examples. He's like, would a woman pick a man who would either who has a chick on the side and let her know, or be open to the idea of her having another guy? She would never respect that man that will allow her to move outside having another guy. But unfortunately, that's the frame in which a lot of these dynamics tend to open up in, right? And sort of that's why I said a lot of women don't seek marriage, because a lot of them want a submissive provider. They're going to, work on their business. They're going to go to school, and I think that's wonderful, and I think it's great. It moves the country forward. But in terms of this relationship dynamic, it's always going to be a bit of a hodgepodge, because the reality is that nobody is aligned with any sort of central ideals that are aligned back to more traditional relationship dynamics. So hey,
We don't no woman want no simp. Don't no woman want no submissive man. What you talking about?
a submissive provider. That's what I said. Maybe you
You
don't.
want us a provider, but
Maybe
don't
you
no woman
don't.
want no submissive
Maybe you
man.
don't. Maybe you don't, and I can respect that. But let's be very honest. When a certain dude comes into the picture who operates and presents himself in a certain type of way, who's not tolerating all that other, hot girl summer bullshit, right? And he's like, look, like, these are the things that I look for and I require, and this is how you have to move or whatever. He's putting a boundary. A lot of women have pushback and have issues. You know what I'm saying? If you look closely at a lot of these videos that JR uses at times, like the example that we just finished using, there was a segment of one of those videos where he didn't even get to finish what he was saying, and they were quick to answer and cut him off or whatever, not even giving him an opportunity to fully express himself and say what he has to say. It's because they were already jumping and attacking what he has to do. And you sent it, and that's just in a conversation dynamic. You look at that in a relationship context, right? Where you set certain boundaries, and a lot of individuals have pushback. They want you to lower your guard at times. And mind you, this is not everybody, but for those who want that in the gray kind of relationship, right? But they want their man to provide everything else. That's what I refer to as, what I'm saying, a submissive provider. They do everything else, right? But then they allow them to walk over them.
I would say, I'm a firm believer that if the right man comes along, that woman will submit, regardless if she wants to have
Automatically.
regardless if she wants to have a hot girl summer, if she want to be a thought, she want to do whatever she want to. If the right man comes along, she is going to submit 100%, in my opinion. I think that what we see often on the internet are women looking to uphold this look and this idea that they see other women saying, because they're in a similar position of them being hurt, or them trying to justify why they're single and why they're doing this and that. But at the end of the day, I think personally that every woman wants or has the desire to be wifed and married. Now, are you that person to pull to make them or give them the desire to submit, that's the $1 million question, I suppose. But I think that what we see now is just a groupthink session of where there's a specific group of women that absolutely want marriage. There's a group of women that's in the middle that want it, but they're also hurt and bitter and holding on to whatever, and they're listening to the women that's on the opposite side that are just set as far as where they want to be alone and they're happy with being alone and all that whole narrative. Those women have either not got the man that they wanted, or they have sabotaged the relationship so much to where they weren't able to keep and grow and nurture that relationship. They weren't able to allow for that to happen. But I think naturally women have the desire to submit, to nurture, to give, to be that woman, that wife, the mother that they are literally built to be. Of course, society plays a tremendous role in that. But again, if you are in that specific group where they're not going to be directly influenced and overtaken by that, then I think that there's a lot of women that are open to it. I
Viz,
think
you're shooting a lot of these women too much bail, man. You're giving
no,
these women way too much bail, bro. Because
no,
and I'm gonna say this. This is the reason why I feel you're giving way too much bail, because we're saying that a woman can operate outside of the premise of what a lady or a woman should be in the context of a relationship, and she's not submitted to the guy that she elected to entertain. But if the right guy comes, right, where she's been practicing all these things that don't align within a relationship, when the right guy comes and he has a frame and he has a structure, she hasn't been adhering or practicing anything that is in line with that relationship. You know, you just said it yourself. A lot of them compromise the relationship so much, and I've seen this because, trust me, have you ever met a woman who brought an amazing man and introduced him to their family, and the family loved them, and they thought that this relationship was great, but they didn't understand behind the scenes that she was fucking it up, and he disappears one day, and then they're like, what happened to that amazing man that you introduced us, that we thought it was going to go somewhere or whatever? And you know what more typical most women's responses like, oh, you know, it didn't work out. No, you didn't work out. You kept on compromising the relationship. You kept on not taking accountability for certain things in the relationship. And that man showed up in a particular type of way, showed you who you are. You were comfortable enough to introduce them to your family. Your family loved them. And for you to sit there and be able to be honest and transparent with them and say, I had the most amazing man that I could have seen to be the father of my children or husband, and I fucked it up. They can't fucking bear to look in the mirror and tell their people that they did that. They'll say it didn't work out, you know, it wasn't meant to be. All these gray area conversations, as opposed to saying, I fucked it up. I had a real good thing and I let it go. And that's why they keep circling the wagon.
I 100% agree with you, bro. But I believe that women and men do the same thing. I'm pretty sure that us men on this panel can say that we've fucked up and sabotaged some really great relationships with women. It's part of I hate to say it, but it's part of life. It's part of growing up. Right, it's part of finding and becoming who it is that you are. It just comes with the territory. Sometimes we fuck up. Players fuck up too, right? So I 100% agree with you. And again, I have not been directly exposed to many of the thought processes that I'm exposed to now that I'm in this YouTube and social media world. But a lot of the women that I know in person, they're not like that. They may not take accountability. Yeah, they may sabotage shit. You know what I'm saying? But to an extent, who doesn't? You know what I'm saying? That's going to happen on some level because we're all humans dealing with another human being. Anika would be a prime example. She said that she was with a guy for however long, through high school up until college, and she knew that this wasn't the guy. Dude could be a fucking stand up man. He could be an amazing husband right now and father. But for her,
And
that was.
he is.
But for
It's
her,
for
that
somebody
wasn't
else.
right. But for her, that he wasn't the one for her. So I get what you're saying. It's absolutely frustrating. It's absolutely heartbreaking for sure. But the harsh reality of it is that if that man or that woman isn't able to push that button on that opposite person, then it just may not work out.
All right, let's go ahead and get Cloud in there, man. We are starting to simmer down. Anybody else haven't spoke besides Cloud? Everybody else spoke on it? Okay, go ahead, Cloud.
I hear everybody's points. My overall way of looking at it is it remains a perfect example of how I'm gonna break it down is like this. If you look around and you drive around the average suburban neighborhood, almost every house has a chimney, right? But I'm sure Luis would tell you, he does architecture. Most houses have chimneys, but they don't use them. They're not actual chimneys, right? Now, chimneys had a real purpose, which is why we still to this day build houses with chimneys, because chimneys were where people lit their fire and warmed their home. I think what we're not under, where I miss everybody in this conversation is like, everyone's not understanding that we now have gas heat, we now have electric heat, we now have solar, we now have fire. We have fireplaces, we got boilers, we got furnaces. There are several ways to heat a home today, but there are still builders who are just attached to this idea of building a house with a chimney, even though for most homes it serves no purpose. Now, everyone's going to make the argument, well, there are people who still use their fireplace. Sure, there are still people who use their fireplace, but the majority of them don't use it as the primary source of heat for their house. Why? Because even they understand, right, that form of heating your home doesn't work with the times. There are new and sometimes even more efficient and better ways to heat a home than with a chimney. And to me, that symbolizes where marriage is today. Marriage is the chimney that everyone wants on the side of their home, even though 9 times out of 10, there's no fire in it. Even though 9 times out of 10, that house is being heated by that boiler, that house is being heated by that furnace, by oil, by gas, by natural gas, by solar, whatever. Most people don't even own an axe. Why? Because the traditional way of getting heat is no longer necessary. So when you want to heat your home, you're not going to sharpen up your axe and going to chop up tons of wood. Nowadays, when people do that, it's literally just as a novelty. They're just doing it for fun. More so as a form of like nostalgia and reminiscence. Like, we're going to go up to the cabin and we're going to go cut wood and go light a fireplace to remember what it was like back in those days when we didn't have technology on that and all that, right? But the reality is we do. The reality is that that's where marriage is today. Marriage is that cabin in the woods that everybody has warm, fond thoughts of, but the majority of people don't actually want to live there, right? That's the reality. And I feel like until we accept that, we're not going to be able to move forward. The real purpose that we have to focus on is heating the home. That's what we need to focus on. How do we build strong, solid relationships between people and strong, solid communities? Marriage was once the vehicle to do that. However, I am of the belief that it's no longer the vehicle. And I think if we keep trying to focus on that, we're going to miss the opportunity to create a new and better vehicle to move communities forward. I'm gonna land there.
Also, Clout, the chimney was also a place where people spent a lot of intimate moments in family bonding time in front of the chimney. They read, told stories, loved ones sat right in front of the fireplace. So it's a place of gathering. That's why it's always been symbolic, especially in modernity. You know, the chimney has always represented sort of like the focal point of the nuclear family. So.
All right. Anybody else have any final thoughts?
I do have one final thought in reference to the video. So there was something that stuck out to me that I believe the gentleman said, where the parents and grandparents they needed each other. Luis touched on that. I think that is a problem as well. Is that we don't have the desire or want to need each other, or even the concept of needing someone. Maybe it's a turn off because it seems too clingy or whatever the case may be. But for me personally, I have always been big on the relationships in general, be it with family, friends, or my significant other. So if I choose, I think that in order for us to have a successful relationships, in order for us to have successful communities, we have to understand the need for each other. As they say, it takes a village to raise a child, but we don't have that village anymore because there's no need for it. Or everyone is so individualized. So if we're able to get back to being at a state of needing each other, then I think that would shift everything. My grandfather, he I didn't know him very well. He was he did his own thing, and he passed. And in my opinion, he passed in probably one of the worst ways possible. He lived alone. He was in his 50s, 60s, or something like that, I believe. And he passed when I was younger. So from what I know is that he was in the bathroom, slipped, fell, hit his head, and was dead before my mother found him maybe 3 or 4 days later. The fact that now, mind you, he was a player. He had hella women, whatever the case. He had hella sex tapes of him, cracking other women in the crib, all type of shit. He was a player. But for me, the message that I took from that was the fact that he didn't need his family. So in the glimpse of him not needing his family, he died alone, to where someone found him days later. They found, his daughter found his body days later because nobody heard from him. So I think if we get back to the values of having the values of community, of having the values of needing each other, the values of having relationships with each other, of gathering around the chimney, the fireplace. If we get back to that, then I think that that's how we save our culture, our society, our communities. And if I don't think that there's no other substitute for that, because there's the only the opposite of needing someone is individualism, and that's what we're experiencing now. So I don't think that there is something to replace that aside from us getting back to needing each other.
But you know how that happens too is when tragedy happens.
I was just about to say that.
When tragedy happens, where is he at? Where are they at? We're like, where are my people? that you've never called a visitor or even drop off a fruit basket, right? It's always in tragedy that people find that they now all of a sudden need someone. 9/11 is a great example of that, and there are other countless examples. But I'm gonna let Cloud go.
Listen, in the 90s, I'm gonna corroborate what you just said because I was gonna reference what you were saying earlier. And yeah, in the 90s, literally the best days on the block would be when there was a blackout. Like whenever there was a blackout, that would literally be the best day because everybody came outside the house, everybody was on the stoop, everybody was chilling, everybody was sharing candles, or whoever had like the candles at their house, everybody would be at that person's house sharing stories. And it's like I absolutely think it goes back to what Luis was saying earlier about we've civilized the world way too much. You know, we've gotten to the point where we've provided ourselves with every single convenience, and unfortunately, until something bad happens, I don't think people are going to get better. It's funny because I made a video about this morning. I was recording in my car and I was saying to myself about like power outages, and because I was watching a video where they were saying, you know, the government eventually, one of the ways they're going to try to shut down the world is by shutting down the internet. And, you know, that's how they're going to try to divide us. And in my mind, I'm like, well, that would be the worst thing that they could do, because if they were to shut down the internet, everybody would start talking and everybody would start being in each other's faces and communicating again. And that's the last thing they would want, because everybody would actually be unified again. So I absolutely believe there would need to be some type of loss of convenience, some type of, whether it be a loss of power, loss of the internet, loss of cell phone coverage, just something that forces people to get back into a mind state where they have to communicate with each other face to face and need each other. I absolutely think needing each other will be better for the communities in general. And by consequence, maybe more people will get married. And then, you know, it knocks off two birds with one stone.
Well, I'll tell you, you want to know something funny too, Clout? I find it like women would say, I would never date a plumber, I would never date this and this and that. Let me tell you something. If we had a global reset, the type of niggas that most women are attracted to will go out the window. They will find them the tallest, darkest, blackest dude that they could find, that they know that they could survive and do life with, man. Because all that other stuff about all that extra stuff goes right out the window, because at that point it's survival of the fittest, right? Like your priority shifts in what you understand because the conveniency is no longer there, right? And that's just an uncomfortable truth. Most people, when put in a situation when conveniences are out the window, they're going to acclimate to the conditions that they've been presented.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and wind this on down, family. Wind this on down. I'm seeing the face expressions, man. Y'all look like y'all tired.
It's fun, man.
Yeah, Chanel just not Chanelling. And she got the earliest time out of everybody on the panel. Oh no, you in LA.
I'm old. Yep, it's 8:00, but I be getting in the bed around this time.
Oh, okay. Well,
I start work every day at like 5:30. So
I got you. Well,
Chanel about to hit the club, man. Chanel about to hit the club.
So before we leave, I did want to say that it was something about what Clout was saying as far as basically how things were back in the day. I think the reality of it is that we just have to adjust to the times. So if you find communication more important, then that's just something that you have to do. Wait, what? What?
Oh no, I was just saying that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree with you.
And I think I'm not gonna even finish the sentence, but yeah. We gotta adjust to the times. But I think ultimately we all need, want, and desire someone, right? But I think a lot of us just don't want to endure the pain that we may have suffered in the past from someone hurting us. So I think we just have to get over that and still be open, because we all know what the ultimate goal is here. I don't think any of us are just meant to be completely alone. We all need someone.
Can I ask a question? Like, are women more? Why are women not more open to the idea of introducing the men that they're dating or entertaining to their fathers? Right. I found that the video said something interesting that I paid attention. They're like, "Oh, like I've been hurt by this one, and then I hurt by that one." I'm like, who are all these men that you're allowing into your life that there isn't another man who has some sort of level of respect and care and love for you that doesn't provide some sort of shield of protection to not allow all these things? Do you really think I'm about to let a goon of fucking dudes, do my daughter like that? You crazy. I'm gonna start hanging motherfuckers outside by the phone pole. You
Well,
know,
I
like
think
if
Wait,
you like,
what was the wait? What was
wait,
the
just
question?
just rephrase the question. Just make it
Yeah.
shorter.
Opinion about that. Oh, my bad.
you know, what I say is, why are women not more open to the idea of introducing the men that they're entertaining or that they're interested romantically to their fathers, right? Because in the video, if you go back and listen, it highlighted that this woman, she was like, "Well, I just don't want to go after her, and this person did me wrong, and that person did me wrong," which made me stop and ask myself, who are all these men that you are allowing to hurt you constantly over and over, and there isn't a man who is caring and loving in your life that doesn't provide some sort of level of shield to tell you, I wouldn't entertain that man, he's no good, I saw him coming before he had arrived. You know what I'm saying? I see his antics or whatever, right? Someone who doesn't have no sexual interest, brother, father, uncle, etc., right? There's that veil of protection to tell you, like, I know you like him, but I promise you, he's going to destroy you.
As far as I'm concerned, my
There's
my father had a relationship with my husband before I did. I knew who he was, but he had a relationship with my father and my mother before I even went out to eat with him. You know what I'm saying? So, as far as that concerned, not in a threatening way or anything like that, but just in general, that was my experience with my husband, is that he was close with my father, actually. And before he was close with me. I didn't want to talk to him because he was close with my dad, to be honest with you. But keep it a buck. But I ended up, you know, actually going out with him and talking to him, and I mean, and we're still together. But I mean, it worked out. He always respected me, and possibly because he respected my father. I mean, I don't know how much it played into it, but it definitely did occur.
All right. We go ahead, Sophia. You trying to say something too?
Yeah.
yeah, we want
So
to hear from you. You've been awfully quiet all night.
so I think that to kind of address your question, I'm not going to answer it directly, but you have said a couple things that kind of give me a little bit of insight into the way that you think a little bit. So your question was, why do women not introduce these men to their fathers? And then earlier you had said something about how women have too much freedom these days, which, you know, you're able to have your opinion on that. That's fine. First of all, I think that it kind of goes back to my point before where I said not everybody is meant for marriage, not everybody is relatable. So we look at these people and we hear them and we hear their situations and we see how they're operating and we see that they're not relating properly and we see that they're not, you know, dealing with relationships in a normal way. And we want to ask, like, oh, why aren't they doing this the normal way? Well, maybe they shouldn't be dating. Maybe they shouldn't be getting married. Maybe these are the types of people who I mentioned before who are not candidates for marriage. And that's okay. Like, everybody is not going to be paired up. Everybody is not going to be, you know, focused or doesn't need to be focusing on relationships. Sometimes if you're a woman and you have all these tumultuous relationships and you have all these dramatic relationships, there's something about you that needs to be addressed. And it doesn't need to be that you take your man to your dad to vet him. It needs to be that you need to take yourself with yourself and figure out what's going on with you, you know, and figure out how you can, you know, do relationships better. And the same goes for men. So that's another thing I was going to say. Like, you were mentioning how women keep having this issue. Women this, women have too much freedom. Women this. like Clout said, we have different technology now. Every single last one of us has social media, and that's a different technology that we didn't have years ago. So we have different access to people, we have different ways of relating to people, and we have like different outlets, but that doesn't make us more suitable or more fit for marriage or relationships because we have these means of communication. Like the question in and of itself, to me, is the wrong question. That's all I wanted to say.
I like the fact that you preface your statement by saying marriages and relationships, because I wasn't solely focusing on marriage. I was also talking about relationships as well. You know what I'm saying? Because relationships is the cornerstone of our society at all different levels, right? And sort of me talking about that woman introducing them to their father wasn't that, hey, have your father vet this person, but like, hey, I'm interested, I'm deeply, engaged with this individual. I think that this is going somewhere, and I want to bring them around the people that I care and that I love, and I want them to also have conversations, engage with him on some sort of level, especially the men, right? To know that, hey, like, my daughter's a good, is a good woman, or like, what are your intentions with my daughter, et cetera, right? We kind of put this like this onus on like trying to pass the buck onto somebody else, which can be further from the truth, because I find that a lot of people are more comfortable of introducing their significant other to their friends than they are to their parents.
Kelly?
I think some women are introducing their significant other to their family, friends, whoever, because they probably don't feel like they're that significant as of where they are in the relationship. That's what I think. Like, yeah, you could date somebody for 6 months and that's your significant other, but you might not feel comfortable enough in that relationship to introduce them because maybe he hasn't proposed yet. Maybe some women are more serious. Maybe they feel like, well, until he asks for my hand in marriage, I'm not going to introduce him to my family because this person might not last. That's just a perspective, It's just the reality of it. Men don't always introduce every woman to their friends and family.
Yeah, I definitely didn't introduce every woman that I dated to my mother. I think my mother may have met maybe 4 or 5 women throughout my life that I was dating. I think another part to what Luis was saying is that I think most women don't introduce the guy that they're dating because they know that the parents wouldn't go for it. They wouldn't approve of the guy. I had met this one chick at a she was a bartender. I went and got some food and we just got on the topic of just talking about life. And she was explaining to me that she was dating this one guy. And mind you, she grew up in a 2-parent household in the suburbs. She had everything, didn't want for anything. Her dad was there, provided, paid for everything type of deal. And she came across this guy in the city. He was living the thug life. He was the dope boy or whatever. And she's leaving the suburbs to go hang out in the city with him. And eventually she gets pregnant by him and she wants to leave him. And he decides, you're not just going to leave me. So he shot her in the hip. And now, she has to live with that due to the fact, knowing that her father would have immediately, and I'm not sure, how open she was to it, or if she even, I'm pretty sure she just ignored what he would say or how he felt. But it is one of those deals of where, again, that bad boy status is something about that edge, living on the edge, especially if that's not what you've been exposed to. So now you're more interested and more intrigued to go down that path, or even if a chick is if a sister is dating a guy and the brother is like, man, dude is no good for you. The fact that the brother is saying that he's no good for you, it would be more push for that person to keep messing with him. So I think that is it. And I think it goes for men too. One of the guys would be like, man, all the guys done had shorty, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, leave her alone. She'll bust him. Woo woo. Like, man, I love her. I think it's just kind of part of the game, and depending on where that person is at that point in life, it just happens.
Vince, you know what it is. She put that thing on his chin. That's what that was. Now he in love with that thing.
That's how it go though. That's how it goes. Some people fall to it, some don't. That's why we need them hoes out here, bro.
God damn. Whole ride about. I understand that. Look, that's crazy. I can't get past that. That's crazy. But with what we are saying, I think a lot of ladies are like, I think it was Louis. He said they looking for a submissive provider man. Yeah, that's dangerous. Because that's gonna get old real fast. A woman don't really want a man like that she could just dog walk and run over. Because that's gonna get stale fast. She's not gonna be turned on no more. That cat ain't gonna get wet like he used to. Because she gonna know I can just do what I want to do with him and just dog walk his ass. And no matter what I do, he gonna take me back. He gonna accept me. He's not gonna cut that attention faucet off. Why? Because he's gonna kowtow to her because he wants to continue to do what he wants to do. Because, like I said, it might be the best thing you ever had. Fellas, don't fall for that shit, man. The numbers are in our favor. These ladies are a dime a dozen. They got the standard model of every woman. They got a vagina, they got titties, and they got ass. It's all about what they got between their damn ears is what you need to be focused on. If they ain't got shit up there but goddamn sawdust, don't deal with them heifers. Another thing is, don't deal with a woman who doesn't have a father or father figure. Those type of women don't have no type of respect for a man because they never been taught, trained, and raised by a man. So they would have no idea when you, as a man, talking to them, they don't know how to relate. They feel like you're just picking on them or taking advantage of them or bullying them. And that's not the case. We're just trying to help you. We're just trying to guide you. We're trying to educate you, trying to teach you, trying to learn you. But some ladies take it as you trying to control them. That's not about control. I want nothing but the best for you. I want to see you be successful. But I'm seeing some things you're doing that's not going to be and going to help you be successful. It's going to help you fail. And I'm not trying to fail with you. So you're going to fail by your goddamn self. What the hell's going on with this?
Yeah, Mission L's face is so priceless right now.
Yeah.
Are you going to come back, man? See, Sophie, if you gonna come back, I mean,
you said, am I gonna come back? No, I hope I didn't scare you guys off. No, I'm fine. Yeah.
Right, go ahead
I
and
enjoyed talking with you guys tonight.
Yeah.
Before we go, man, can you let us know how many crystals you own?
Damn. Lord help us.
Don't stereotype me. You don't know me.
Hey,
Don't do it.
Shout out to the Chris.
Let me go get to these super chats right quick. I know Kenneth AP $2 says, Viz, you need more edification today. Jalen Thomas became a member. Salute to you.
Man, that man is obsessed, bro. Hey, shot.
Salute.
that man is obsessed, bro. Shout out to Kenny to pay us some money, to putting some money down to make himself be seen.
Okay. I want to thank everybody that came out today, man. Appreciate your perspectives. Thank you. Thank you.
The crystals and waist beads.
I got going on, man. But y'all enjoy yourselves. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. Catch us next Wednesday. Thursday, we live tomorrow, y'all. Lapeef Let's Talk. It's live tomorrow. Y'all make sure y'all tune in for that. Y'all be easy, y'all. Yeah.